We've all heard our fair share of life advice. But sometimes, even the most common phrases, the ones with the best intentions, can actually be, well, a little misleading. Today, we're going to take a closer look at one of the most popular ones out there and explore a much more powerful way to think about our lives.
Just go with the flow. It sounds so peaceful, doesn't it? It kind of suggests this life of ease, just surrender to the currents and let the universe take you where you need to go. It promises this freedom from stress, from constantly overthinking everything. And honestly, a lot of the time, it's pretty good advice. But let's push back on that for a second. What if that gentle current you're floating on is actually slowly but surely pulling you somewhere you really don't want to go? Maybe a job that just drains the life out of you, or a future that you never in a million years would have picked for yourself. What then? So let's really dig into this whole go with the flow idea. Because behind that calm, easygoing phrase, a life of just drifting can have some real hidden dangers, some psychological costs that definitely add up over time. It really boils down to two totally different ways of looking at your life. You've got the passive mindset, where you're basically a passenger. Life just sort of happens to you, and you're just along for the ride. Or you can have an active mindset. You become the architect. Life happens by you. You're the one building the boat and helping to set the course. It's a huge difference. And this isn't just some abstract idea. Drifting has real-world consequences. It's often the source of that nagging feeling that something's missing. It slowly eats away at your sense of agency, your belief that you actually have a say in your own life. And before you know it, you can start to feel like you're just a bystander, watching your own movie unfold, getting pushed around by what other people think or whatever seems easiest at the moment. Okay, so if drifting is the problem, what's the fix? Well, this is where we make that big shift. This is where we go from being the passenger to becoming the architect of our own experience. It's about stepping into this powerful idea of intentional living. So what is intentional living really? At its core, it's the simple practice of consciously designing a life that lines up with what you truly value and what you want to achieve. It's about moving from just reacting to whatever comes your way to actively creating the circumstances you want to be in. Now, it's really important to get this straight. This is not about becoming a control freak. That's just exhausting, right? No, think of it more like co-creating. It's about working with the stuff life throws at you, but using your core values as a kind of compass to help you navigate all the unexpected twists and turns. All right, so how do we actually do this? If we're going to be the architect, where's the blueprint? How do we even start designing a life that feels purposeful? Well, it all starts with a few key steps. It really breaks down into three main parts. First up, you've got to lay the foundation. That means figuring out your core values. What genuinely matters to you deep down? Is it community, creativity, freedom? Get really clear on that. Then you draft the blueprint. You set meaningful goals that actually line up with those values. This gives your values some direction. And finally, you build deliberately. This is the day-to-day stuff, the small choices and the big ones that slowly bring that blueprint to life brick by brick. And this brings us right back to where we started. By becoming the architect, we don't get rid of flow, not at all. We actually completely change our relationship with it. We stop drifting aimlessly and we start navigating with purpose. This gives us a whole new way to think about flow. See, on one hand, there's unconscious flow. That's just being swept away by whatever is happening. But then there's purposeful flow. Think about a skilled kayaker on the river. They're not fighting the current. They're working with it. They feel its power, but they use their paddle, their intentions, their choices to steer. They are in the flow, for sure, but they're navigating it. And maybe this is the most powerful way to look at it all. Living intentionally isn't about trying to build a dam and stop the river of life. That's impossible. The real goal is to build the riverbank. Your values, your choices, they create the structure that guides the flow, that gives it a meaningful direction, and keeps it from spilling over into chaos. So I guess the question to leave you with is this. As the architect of your own life, as you start to build that riverbank, what's the very first stone you're going to intentionally put in place?